Well, let's get to our first discussion. President Muhammadu Buhari, in an exclusive interview some weeks ago with international outfit with Bloomberg, stated that his administration will be leaving Nigeria's economy better than he met it in 2015 when he assumed office. According to the president, the vast infrastructure development and policies by the monetary authorities has set the country on course for sustainable and equitable growth, adding that his successor will inherit a far more resilient economy, of course, due to investments in key sectors of the economy that has boosted local production. Meanwhile, economic analysts have faulted economic policies of both the fiscal and the monetary authorities, stating that the reality is at variance with the claims of the president. Well, let's understand this better. And I have joining me via Skype. He is the managing director and chief executive officer of Dignity Finance and Investment Limited, Dr. Chijioke Ekechukwu. Good afternoon, Dr. Ekechukwu, and thank you so much for your time.
Good afternoon, Tolu. It's my pleasure.
Now, let's start with understanding efforts by the monetary policy, that's by the central bank, to address all of the challenges that we face as a country. Before we go into specifics, with an overall overview of what you have seen, the comments from the president saying that these policies are actually favorable and they're actually doing well. Do you think that is true? And if it is true, how well are we doing? If it is not true, how better can we get?
The function of the central bank is just to do well in the monetary policy of the country and the other responsibilities that they have within their purview. To that extent, I think the central bank has done a lot to sustain and protect the economy from a free fall. If you recall that the country has gone through a lot of economic crisis in the past, and things, even before the COVID came, we were already having the crisis arising from the global economic crisis, and of course the COVID and many other things that we have gone through. We also have gone through a period of very heavy productivity of oil and decline of oil prices. You see, while doing their monetary policy functions, a lot of interventions will have to be done, some of which may also affect the effect or the effectiveness of others. So you'll see that many times the CBN, in the process of doing their monetary policy functions, have actually sustained this economy, and they may not have achieved the kind of results laymen will expect to be achieved. But you see, there are so many things that are not within their control to handle. So many things that are also affecting the economy that are not within their control. So as far as I know and I can see, there have been a lot of interventions that have sustained some of the things that we consider today a failure, and of course, which would have been worse if there were no interventions. So we can give it to them that a lot of their policy decisions have actually improved the economy, sustained our growth, and kept us still afloat. Many of them may not, some of them may not have worked as expected, but to the extent that we can see, a good number of them have worked and they are sustaining us. Let's take an example with the free fall. Our foreign currency would have, our naira would have fallen if there was a free flow, floating of the naira. You see that if the naira had been floated today, we would obviously have exchange rates going as high as 1,000 or more. But because of the levels of interventions they have done in the past, we still have it where we are. Of course, granted that there was a time that it was as low as 150 or even less than that. You know, what has happened between then and now? Those are the questions people are asking. But what has also happened to our revenue base over this period of time? These are the things that are affecting some of the results that we're getting, which may not be optimal results that we expect from the monetary policy of CBN.
That's a very good way to start, Dr. Chijioke. Great submission from you there. But let me follow up. One of the schemes of the CBN that is widely talked about is the anchor borrower scheme. And we must talk about that, where a lot of farmers have been empowered. And some say that we're yet to see the positives of this very laudable initiative by some quarters or by some analysts. So what do you think about that scheme? And do you think that we are on the right track? Can this help tame food inflation?
I can tell you that the Anchor Borrowers program has brought a lot of growth in the agricultural subsector. That growth we have seen a lot in the rice value chain. We have seen a whole lot of rice growers today, like rice millers, and of course rice marketers of that. Before now, we know what the statistics of rice was before the Anchor Borrowers program came into being. We also know what the statistics of maize production was before now. So to that extent, we can give CBN kudos because they have actually succeeded in making sure that we are now growing our own rice instead of the size of importation of rice we used to do. But I can fault the Anchor Borrowers program because it looks like we entered into that program in a very serious hurry because we didn't have enough database of the real farmers or the business farmers. The real farmers are the real farmers who are supposed to be major beneficiaries of this program. But there are also the business farmers who now entered into the program of farming just because there is Anchor Borrowers program. And because we didn't have enough statistics of these people, a lot of people who were not supposed to be beneficiaries of this program got into it. And it looks like a lot of people have accessed these funds and not giving us outcome of what the funds are supposed to give. And that is what many Nigerians are criticizing and many Nigerians are faulting, that many of the major farmers in this area have not really benefited from this program. And even if they have benefited, there are some conditions attached to it that may not be beneficial to them. But I think it's not the time to lose hope. All we need to do is just to either suspend the program and take a stock of what we have. Who indeed is the farmer? Where are the farms? What are the output and input of these farms? Because to tell you, some of these farms are existing only on paper. Some of them are existing only on paper. Those are the problems of the program. And if we were obviously putting these monies to the real farming and to the real farmers, we would have gotten more than we have today. Unfortunately, we have the business farmers that actually infiltrated the program.
A lot of investments on roads, rail transport, and all of that by this administration, which many would say is highly commendable. But all of this, Nigerians want to see the impact. And how with that? Food on their table. That is what they want to see. Now, do you agree that many of these policies really being instituted by the Apex Bank are people-oriented, are focused on people? Do you agree to that fact?
We have been saying that what I was saying. What I'm saying is the fact that the economy would have been worse off if not for the intervention of CBN. And so we have to make do with what we are seeing and from getting from them. And we need to continue to encourage CBN because a lot of things have been done. What I think has also been done is that there are too many of these intervention programs that have not actually been known by the targeted potentials or targeted beneficiaries. So most of them have not been known, and the beneficiaries don't even know that they have some of these interventions that they can access. So these are some of the problems that we have, and these are some of the things affecting the efficiency of what is being done.
The president also was quoted to say that most Western countries at this time are implementing subsidies. So it wouldn't be bad for Nigeria to maintain subsidy. So this is not the time to remove subsidy. With our dwindling reserves, do you think this is sustainable? Truth be told.
Obviously, it is clear that we cannot sustain subsidy. It's only keeping it now is just like shifting the evil day. So we need to just make sure that we take it out at the right time, and the right time is actually now, so that we face the realities and face them head on, and Nigerians will actually get used to that going forward. So right now, subsidy is a minus for us. We need to really know our size and the impact of the increase in the price of fuel, and until we identify that, we cannot say, because what we're doing is just to paint ourselves good in the outside, meanwhile inside is just not good for us. So that's actually the effect of keeping subsidy. It is only shifting the evil day. That's what we have.
We can't say this enough, that even when the monetary side continues to try as much as possible to merge, to institute policies that would help stabilize the economy, there needs to be a synergy with the fiscal side. Some are saying that there is no much support or not enough support from the fiscal side. What's your reaction to this?
It is not as if there is not enough support from the fiscal side. The policy of government, as we can see, have actually tried to help the economy as it is. But you can also agree that some of the things that would have been done by the fiscal side are still being done by the monetary policy side. So we are already having some restrictions and some limitations from the fiscal side. That's why they cannot do as much. Otherwise, I think the fiscal side is also trying to make do with what they have. Don't forget that revenue has been a problem. Revenue of our country has been a problem, and if the revenue is a problem, our debt burden is also there. The fiscal side cannot do much. That is why you are seeing such kind of overlap that we're getting from the monetary side, and that is actually what is playing out. Not that they're not willing, not that they don't have the capacity. They do have the capacity, but right now there is a restriction arising from poor revenue of the country.
Poor revenue. Let's now look at taxation, which is another angle government is looking at or has been looking at in recent times. Now, do you think that all of these moves by FRS and, of course, government to improve the non-oil space, do you think we can expand that net? The argument has been that we have a lot of people in the informal space and we need to bring them into this basket. How well can we do this so that we don't pay more, those of us that have been paying tax?
No. It is in a time of economic crisis, you don't tax the people to pay more. What we need to do is just to see bring a whole lot of things into the basket. So many things are not being paid for right now as we speak. Of course, you know there are a lot of leakages in the system. If we can even bring in all that are accruable to government, we're going to actually get a lot from it. There is corruption side of it, which a lot of leakages from the system. So let even the revenue generating MDAs bring in all that are supposed to come to government, we will have a lot coming from there. But there are no checks and balances in all those MDAs, and until that is done, we may not have enough to be able to say we are doing well. Otherwise, we are seeing that the figures of FIRS, the figures are rising up, but of course, more that would have come from CIT if we had more and more manufacturers in the system. Right now, we don't have enough manufacturers, and because we don't have enough manufacturers, there is restriction. There is a limited revenue to be generated from all those company income tax and the underlying taxes to have been paid if these factories were just producing.
Finally, Doc, let's touch on the AFCFTA, which we've been talking about since the start of the year, following the Intra-African Trade Conference that I held sometime in November last year in Durban, South Africa. Many have talked about Africans trading with Africans and all of this. I'm just talking about how we can improve trade relations across board. Do you think we are totally, or we are ready in any way to key into this?
Okay, I can tell you that African countries have not done well by integrating themselves in the air and even within the sea. We have the Atlantic Ocean that goes round the West African countries, yet it's difficult to import things from some of these countries into Nigeria. Some of the exports we have to do will have to go to European countries first before they come to Nigeria. And so the intertrade amongst African countries is as low as you cannot imagine. So why do we have to take some of these goods from Africa to Europe before we import them from Europe to Nigeria or to some other African countries? So we need to really integrate ourselves. We need to create a very good bilateral air service agreement with other African countries, whether in North or East Africa or some other African countries. A country like Zambia, for example, produces probably the highest quantity of copper. They export copper to Europe before other African countries will have to get their copper. Zambia is in Africa. We can have a link, sea link and air link with Zambia in order for us to actually have a good import and export from them. So why do we have to buy from Europe when we can actually buy directly from Zambia? So these are the kind of things we're talking about. African countries need to integrate themselves in the air and in the water and on the road in order for us to have a good process as designed by the AFTA.
Brilliant stuff there. I must thank you so much. They have been speaking to the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer at Dignity Finance and Investment Limited. I also forgot to tell you that he's the past Director General of the Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He's Dr. Chijioke Ekechukwu. Do enjoy the rest of your day and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Tolu. Thank you.